Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm live. I'm in the studio. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. There is a lot of news popping off at the minute. We've had transfers that have been done. We've had transfers that look like they're going to get done. We've had transfers that some people want to get done but aren't going to happen. So we're going to be getting into all that. So make sure, before we do, you are hitting that like button. Good to see loads of people in the chat already. Usual suspects. Got MUFC Dad, Akash K, Heaven Soul, Mick Hollahan, Maurice Marshall. Thank you, all you wonderful people. Right, let's get into the Kobbie Mainoo business, shall we? Because I saw this last night, and I saw the first sort of 7 words, whatever it is, or 10 words, and I panicked. I was like, Kobbie Mainoo tells Man United he wants to leave. I was like, oh my God, no. On loan, which I thought, okay, phew. Before the end of the transfer window, as club stance on his future is revealed. So we got it here from the Mail. Could have picked any paper to run it, to be honest with you. It was all over the news last night. It does sort of, the gist of it is, I don't need to read it all, but you can see it there. Basically, Kobbie Mainoo said he wants to go on loan this season. It is a World Cup year. The manager's obviously said to Kobbie Mainoo, look, in terms of your future at Manchester United, or he said to the press, so I imagine he said it to Kobbie Mainoo as well, he's an alternative to Bruno Fernandes. So when Bruno Fernandes doesn't play, Kobbie Mainoo can play. Now, the issue with that is Bruno Fernandes plays pretty much every week. He didn't play against Grimsby, of course. He's rested for that League Cup second round game. But we've got 36 league games left of the season. I fully expect Bruno Fernandes to start every single one of them. So Kobbie Mainoo's I'll be looking at it and going, well, if I'm going to be backup to a player that starts every single game and plays every single minute almost of every single game, do I have much of a chance of breaking into the first team this season or getting back into the first team this season? Unless the manager changes his stance, or maybe even the manager himself changes. We don't know what the future holds with Manchester United managers, certainly with Ruben Amorim already under a bit of pressure. So Kobbie Mainoo looking at going, if I want to get into the England squad for the World Cup, I need to go out on loan, I need to get some minutes. Wants to go out on loan. However, the club saying, no, that ain't happening. You are not going out on loan. That's been rejected. We've got a story here. I think the BBC covered it, saying that basically the club have told Kobbie Mainoo, you ain't going out on loan. That ain't happening. You're staying at the club and you've got to stay and fight for your place. Now, I want to see Manchester United players stay and fight for their place. I always think it's the best thing for a United player to do. I do have a little bit of sympathy with Kobbie Mainoo, though, because you have been told more or less that you're only going to be in the team if the captain, the player that's sort of never injured and never gets dropped is dropped, or you're an alternative for him. It's not ideal, is it, in a World Cup year? Kobbie Mainoo, let's not forget, he started the Euros final. He played for England in the tournament. He broke into the England team and was a big part of their success in that tournament. So he's looking at going, I want to do that in the World Cup. I understand that. I understand players who want to play for the country in the tournament. I understand it where you might have frustrations there because you're looking at going, well, the manager's just told me I'm only in the team if someone who's never dropped is dropped. So it's not ideal, is it? But it seems as though the club aren't willing to let him go. So he's going to have to stay at Manchester United, and he's probably going to have to try and force his way into the team, even though that sounds very, very difficult. There's a big if the manager sees him and Bruno Fernandes as being one or the other, there may be a scenario where Kobbie Mainoo can play alongside Bruno. If that happens, I think he's got a better chance of having more minutes. There was rumours of him going to Napoli. Now, Darren Lewis, these rumours about Napoli being interested were a few days ago. Darren Lewis has just gone big with this exclusive about 10 minutes ago. He's saying Kobbie Mainoo has already told Manchester United he wants to go to Napoli permanently ahead of Monday's deadline. United are blocking the move, mindful of Scott McTominay's impact under Conte last season, but Mainoo is adamant he wants to go. We'll see what happens with this. I like Darren Lewis. We've had him on the channel. He's a good guy. However, he has been wrong about certain things, I think it's safe to say, because you remember the Bryan Mbeumo Spurs bid. He said that Spurs put in a £70 million bid for Bryan Mbeumo. He was the only one who went with that. He was the only journalist, sort of reputable journalist who ran that story. No one else did. And to all intents and purposes, it seemed it wasn't true. It seems like Spurs didn't submit a £70 million bid for Bryan Mbeumo. So that did make me sort of question a little bit some of his sources when it comes to Manchester United or when it comes to transfers. I think Darren Lewis is very good on his opinion piece. He's very good on certain articles he does. He's very good. The articles he writes are very well written. Some of the news stories, though, I don't know. I'm a bit on the fence with some of them as to just how reliable he is. So I'm not there yet where I go, well, that definitely means Kobbie Mainoo's asked for a permanent move. We'll have to wait and see what transpires here. It'll be interesting to see what Ruben Amorim says about all the Kobbie Mainoo situation. My take on it is look, I love Kobbie Mainoo. Very talented player. That debut against Everton in the full Premier League debut against Everton, I think we've got a tweet here from Adam Crafton at the time. He came into this, and look at the date there, 26th of November. Right, Kobbie Mainoo makes his Premier League debut on the 26th of November, and Adam Crafton took some pelters for this, but he said, look, he could get himself into that England squad if he carries on playing the way he's been playing so far. I know it's only one game, and he says there it's extremely hasty. Well, you can see, or Kobbie Mainoo got into the England squad. You look at the rest of that season, I think he was player of the match in that game. Then he went on, obviously, to play pretty much week in, week out. Some big moments, some big goals. You look at the goal against Liverpool, the goal against Wolves, of course. Then you look at the FA Cup final. You can get rid of that. The FA Cup final, Kobbie Mainoo, player of the match, scores the decisive goal, gets into the England squad. He also has a good game, doesn't he, when he plays for England? He plays, I think it was a cameo against Brazil and a star against Belgium? Or I'm getting that the other way around. Anyway, does very well when he plays for England, gets into the squad. At first, he's not in the England squad. You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold alongside Declan Rice, I think. Then you've got Conor Gallagher. Eventually, Kobbie Mainoo gets his chance, takes it, and plays every single game all the way up to the Euros final. So a phenomenal first sort of 6 or 7 months for the lad, both for club and for country. Second season, a little bit more difficult. Injuries, sort of catching up with him a little bit during the season. He's missing quite a few games for injury. The manager who brought him into the squad, into the team, Erik ten Hag, sacked. A new manager comes in, doesn't seem to rate him as highly as Erik ten Hag did, or doesn't seem to have a place for him in the system that's settled. Sometimes he's a deep line midfielder, sometimes he's a number 8, sometimes he's a number 10, sometimes he's a 9. I think was it Crystal Palace? Old Trafford, he was a false 9. So Kobbie Mainoo's had a bit of a difficult second season where he's been moved around, where he's been dropped. There have been some good moments, though, and some good performances. I don't buy into this idea that Kobbie Mainoo's second season was just a complete disaster. It wasn't. That's an absolute stretch. I've seen some people saying that. I remember when he came on for Mason Mount, 5 minutes into the game, and he had to have a foot. He played very well. There were other big games and good moments as well. It's just on the whole, Manchester United underperformed, and on the whole, he didn't play anywhere near as much as he wanted to. So you're going into this season, you think this is a big season for Kobbie Mainoo. He's 20 years old now. There's obviously a question about his contract. I think he's on 20k a week, which, let's not pretend that isn't a good amount of money. It is, but after 2 seasons at Manchester United, it's time for a renewal, it's time for a pay bump. There was talk that maybe he was after sort of 180k. There was pushback on that, though. I think some journalists were saying that's not entirely true. However, you'd expect him to sign a new deal and get a pay rise. I don't think it'd be 180k a week, but certainly more than 20k. That's not happened yet. We don't know what's going on with his contract situation. We don't know whether the club are keen to get him on a long-term deal. You'd expect they would be, but you don't know what the sort of noises are. You don't know whether he's holding out for more money. It's just a bit of a grey area. Then you've got this recent news, of course, that he wants to leave on loan. Now, I understand it. I get it. I understand that a player looks at it and thinks, I can't get in the team unless the captain is dropped. Captain who's just turned down a £100 million move to Saudi Arabia. Captain who never injured and plays almost every minute, certainly every minute of every Premier League game. What are my chances? We've got no European football. We're already out of the Carabao Cup. FA Cup, maybe. When's that start? Is it January? I might get some games there. I might get a few cameos in the Premier League. He's looking at it and going, I'm probably better served going out on loan. Now, if we did lose Kobbie Mainoo, I said this on a podcast the other day, I'd rather lose him on loan than permanently. I'd rather he went out on loan and came back. And that can be a good thing for some players. I remember David Beckham, when he went to Preston, was it? When he was a young player. The difference was he hadn't broken in the United first team and become a regular and then went to Preston. Jesse Lingard obviously had a lot of loan moves, didn't he, until he was about 23. Sometimes a loan move can be beneficial. It can. And if you're not getting playing time, I think this is a stage in Kobbie Mainoo's career where he should be getting playing time. He should be kicking on. He's played a lot of football when he was 18, 19. He should be carrying on playing a lot of football. And he's not going to get out at United. I understand it could scupper his development if he don't get it anywhere. So going out on loan and getting some game time, even if it is with an eye on the World Cup, it could be a good move for both the player and the club. However, doesn't look like it's going to happen. He's going to have to stay and fight for his place. I just don't know how many minutes he's going to get with Bruno Fernandes in his way. If that is what the manager truly believes, that it is either Bruno Fernandes or Kobbie Mainoo. I personally think you can play them both together. You may disagree. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let me know what you think about it. It is all very deflating though, because I go back to that time at Wembley, seeing him in his bucket hat with that FA Cup trophy, just been player of the match. We were all loving Kobbie Mainoo. I still love him, but it's just sad that it sort of ended this one, not ended, but it's heading towards this sort of fallout. We don't want to see it, and I hope there's a way for Kobbie Mainoo to play for Manchester United and play for Manchester United for many, many years to come. let's talk about Alejandro Garnacho. He's going. Well, he's gone. He's not going, he's gone. We've sold him 40 million, fixed fee, 10% sell-on fee. I've spoken about Alejandro Garnacho a lot over the last, year. After that initial bright start for Manchester United, helps us win the FA Youth Cup, played very well in the final, scored in the final, of course. The goal against Fulham, you remember that? The cameo against Manchester City, where it helps us beat Manchester City at Old Trafford. There was some good moments. The goal against Everton, the Puskas award-winning goal, the FA Cup final goal. We was hoping for big things from Alejandro Garnacho. It hasn't worked out. There's always been these question marks about his application, his mindset. Dare I use the word attitude? I think I can. Some of the social media posts, rumours of him being late for training. Then there was the time when he got dropped from the Manchester derby at the Etihad. Him and Marcus Rashford both dropped from the squad. To be fair to Garnacho, he got himself back in, but all wasn't rosy. He didn't celebrate a goal, did he, at Old Trafford, because he felt the fans were against him. It was just a bit of a difficult time, and it didn't really sort itself out. You never got to a point where you thought, okay, everything's all right now, and then you get to the Europa League final where he doesn't start, he kicks off about it, he talks about it in the media, and the manager's just had enough, and it's time for him to go. So he's gone to Chelsea. Ideally, you would have wanted to get more than 40 million quid for him, but maybe it works out okay with PSR and the sell-on fee and all the rest of it. I just worry that Alejandro Garnacho is going to smash it at Chelsea and everyone's going to be like, oh, why did we let him go? You're going to have all that meltdown stuff that we always have. I think it had become pretty untenable with Alejandro Garnacho at Manchester United. And you can't even just say it was him and Ruben Amorim, because I think there was a few issues there with Erik ten Hag. Not as many as there was with Ruben Amorim, but the worst couple of moments weren't there where things weren't quite right with Alejandro Garnacho, and maybe a move to Chelsea is what he needs. Let me know what you think. Abhinav Verma says, Kobbie wants to leave as Amorim has ordered all the butter to be removed from the canteen. Excellent joke there. Love that. Corn on the Kobbie, butter him up. Ali H says, listen, Jay, why haven't you sorted this mess out at being a major shareholder? Go and have a word with Sir Jim. That is true. I do own a bit of a share in Manchester United. And when I say a bit of a share, I'm talking about 15 quid's worth. So I don't even know what that is classed as. But I will get on the phone to Sir Jim and tell him to give Kobbie Mainoo a new contract and to give him a start. Ayush Varma says, fee is low, but I'm glad he's gone. Spotted at Manchester Piccadilly, taking the 2015 Avanti West Coast last night. That's talking about Alejandro Garnacho. Nick Dodd says, we've got new funds. Who's coming in after a goalkeeper? I don't know what's going to happen there, but there is talk that maybe we're going to sign the kid. Is it Lemens? Yeah, we've been linked with Sen Lemens, haven't we, from Antwerp. That deal should be getting done before the transfer window, by the way. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. Let's talk about other potential outgoings. Ruben Amorim clears the decks after Man United humiliation. I don't know if you heard about that. We lost to Grimsby. With Rasmus Højlund close to joining European giants, while Antony is set for the Liga loan move. In a nutshell, it looks like Rasmus Højlund is going to go to Napoli for a loan move with an obligation to buy around 40 million. That makes sense. Not quite worked out for Rasmus Højlund. There were some good signs. Had a decent first season, poor second season. Doesn't seem as though he's in the manager's plans at all. And he looked a pretty despondent figure at Manchester United at Old Trafford, especially last season when I watched him. The crowd were on his case. It wasn't great. And I kind of felt sorry for the lad. I've stuck up for him quite a lot. But I understand why it's time for him to move on. Antony, a different story. Listen, we knew that Antony was never going to have much of a future at Old Trafford. I think he was one of the nails in Erik ten Hag's coffin when we signed him for such a big fee. He had to do a lot better than he did. He did all right in his first season, not great in his second season. Goes to Real Betis, absolutely smashes it, to be fair to the lad. They haven't got the money, apparently, to buy him. However, it looks like there can be some sort of agreement. It looks like it might be a loan agreement to get done over the next few days. We've only got a few days left of the transfer window, haven't we? So we'll see what happens with Rasmus Højlund and with Alejandro Garnacho. It looks like they're both going to be heading out the exit door. Is that going to be enough, these loan moves, to give us any money to spend on a midfielder? I don't think so. Let me know what you think. Dali, or is it Dal TV? Welcome to the first team. Boxing Straight Talk says, Amorim is crushing Mainoo's spirit. He has pushed you to one side. Amorim is a baby. Jose, without the good results and class, Amorim out. He's had enough. Akash K says, Jay, this may be harsh, but I'm sacking Jason Wilcox for the way this Mainoo situation has been handled, especially with regards to not letting him go on loan. So obviously, Akash K is looking at Jason Wilcox. We're told out that Jason Wilcox is probably the most important man in the coaching setup. I know it's usually the manager, but apparently Jason Wilcox is the one that's making all the big decisions when it comes to transfers, when it comes to contracts and stuff like that. Even when it came to the manager, it was apparently Jason Wilcox who helped recommend and get Ruben Amorim the job. We heard that Dan Ashworth apparently wanted a English-based manager, and that's one of the reasons he got sacked. So Jason Wilcox is certainly someone who's got a lot of influence at Manchester United, and if things do go badly this season, you can blame the manager, and I'm sure that Ruben Amorim will be the first to get sacked or leave. If you're judging on his reaction to the Grimsby result, I won't be surprised if he ends up walking if the results don't go his way. But Jason Wilcox is going to be having a few fingers pointed at him if Manchester United cannot find the success that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos demand. Let's talk about Tyrell Malacia as well. Says here, La Liga club Elche are understood to be interested in Tyrell Malacia. There were some reports on social media this deal has already been done. I've not seen anything concrete at the minute. I might have missed it, but it does look like Tyrell Malacia is heading out the exit door. I feel a little bit sorry for Tyrell Malacia because he's sort of been labelled as part of this bomb squad with the likes of Garnacho, with the likes of Jadon Sancho, with the likes of, is it Anthony as well? I don't think he's done much wrong, Tyrell Malacia. I know the club were unimpressed with him going to see a surgeon and having surgery with his own doctor rather than the club doctor, and that surgery didn't work out. But it wasn't like he was deliberately trying to do something wrong. He was trying to get himself fit again, and okay, it backfired and maybe he should have listened to the club, but the bomb squad moniker feels a little bit harsh when it comes to Tyrell Malacia. He's always seemed to me like a decent lad, so yeah, I wish him well when he does go, but he's obviously not quite good enough for Manchester United, even this current Manchester United who are shambolic at times. Speak123 says, posturing by the club and by Kobbie's agents. He didn't extend under Erik ten Hag, who loved him. That's March 2024 until now. We can't lose him. The latest brief by agents was a masterstroke. Crap situation. I agree with pretty much all that. It is a crap situation. Jadon Sancho, you remember him? Damesh Seth, who obviously comes on the channel and who will be back on the channel next week on deadline day, says Jadon Sancho could still be at Manchester United after the window closes. Fantastic news. Great stuff. I'm sure he's going to play a big part this season. Number of clubs in talks over a loan. Roma have been pushing. Sancho exploring other options, but Roma can't be ruled out. Interest from Saudi and Turkey. Their windows shut on the 10th and 11th, respectively. Hashtag MUFC. I wouldn't be surprised if Jadon Sancho doesn't move anywhere. He didn't want to go to Roma. He didn't want to go to Juve. He didn't want to stay at Chelsea. Does he want to go to Saudi or Turkey? I don't know. I don't think Jadon Sancho's even looking at the England squad for the World Cup. I honestly don't. I don't think he's thinking about that. Certainly not hearing any noises about it, are we? And I think he could get himself in that England squad if he went to a club and did well. Don't think there's any reason why Thomas Tuchel wouldn't pick him, but it doesn't look like that's even being considered. The rumour mills have started and they've gone into overdrive because there's a couple of managers who've been at Manchester United before who are now available. And it's kind of weird, the similarities here. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been sacked by Besiktas with immediate effects. This is last night, I think. Fabrizio Romano tweeting this. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is on the market. He's free. He's available. If anyone thinks we should get Ole back in, I'm not saying we should, but the rumours have started, obviously, as you'd expect. And also, if you don't like Ole, then you can always go for Jose, because he's been sacked as well. Oh, sorry, has parted ways with Fenerbahce. So yeah, the Turkish adventure ends for both former Manchester United managers. Let me know what you think. Would you have either of them back? Do you think we should have either of them? I don't, but I already see a lot of people on social media, some mischief making, some people being deadly serious, saying that it would be a good idea to bring either of those back. I mean, maybe even a double act. Who knows? Let me know what you think. Dan United 94 says, Jay, just be honest. Your ownership of United has been a shambles. Since you acquired your stake in the club, we've gotten so much worse. Get out, Jay Glazer. All right, I'll sell up. If I sell now, I'll probably make a profit of about £1. So I think it's sage advice. MUFC Dad says, Jose stinks of West Ham. Hello, is that West Ham? Yeah, I could see that happening. Ayush Varma says, three-way King of the Ring this international break. I'd buy tickets for that. Is that you just throw in Jose, you throw in Ole, and throw in Amorim, and whoever wins gets to be United manager. Jose to Forest, says Saz30. Brian Moran says Sir Alex couldn't fix this. I think he could. I think he could do anything, but Sir Alex's don't grow on trees. We've got a manager. That manager is Ruben Amorim. We need him to fix it. We need him to sort it out. Also, I need to mention as well, Dal TV has gifted 5 Stretford Paddock memberships, so big thank you to you for that. Very generous indeed. Going to be back later on. We've got the brew coming up this afternoon. Me and Steve putting the world to rights. We might not even talk about football because, let's be honest, it can be a bit depressing, but you know what the brew's like. We just talk about all sorts of wibble, so we'll be getting into that. So make sure if you're not doing so already, you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I've been Jay Motti. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.